Hello, 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 and welcome. Now, in today's interview, I'm going to be talking about how to self publish a book with none other than the amazing Eevi Jones of eevijones.com, who is a serial number one best-selling children's author and also a great friend to me. So I'm very excited to introduce you to her as well as her work today. But just in case you kind of are unfamiliar with me, before I continue gushing over her, I'm just going to do a very quick introduction to myself, okay? So, my name is Nina Dafe, and I am the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies Collection.com, where I basically help Christian women to know their worth, their power, and their purpose so that they may speak up, step out, and shine as the amazing and wonderful women of God that He created them to be. And if that's something that kind of sounds right up your street, your cup of tea, then I definitely would encourage you to consider subscribing today. All right. And you also want to stay tuned because by the end of this video, you are going to walk away with a wealth of wisdom on all things book writing and self publishing and all of that kind of jazz. Like Evie shares pearls of wisdom, not only about how to actually self publish your own book, but she shares two of her favorite marketing strategies and also a little bit about how you can implement those. And she also talks about how to not launch to crickets and much more. Like, as I said, this is a very meaty episode, so you definitely want to stay tuned, and we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of all of that right after this short introduction to Eevi. Okay, so Eevi Jones is a seven-time number one best-selling children's book author who helps aspiring children's book authors through coaching and courses to make their dream a reality. She has been featured in multiple media outlets such as TEDx, Scary Mummy, Kindlepreneur, Huffington Post, EP Magazine, Military.com, and Stars and Stripes. You can find out more about her and also her work and download a free guide to writing your own children's book at eevijones.com. Okay, and so without any further ado, we're going to go straight into the interview. Enjoy. Hi, Evie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hi, Nina. How are
How is
you?
it? Oh, do you know what? Brilliant. I just want to say thank you also for joining us today, being a part of this. It is such an honor, honestly, to have you here with us today.
No, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, brilliant. Well, as you know, I've already introduced you and let people know who you are and how amazing you are. But just in your own words, if you could just let people know, yourself, what you do so they can get more of an idea of you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, I'm Evie Jones, and
Mm-hmm.
if someone were to take a glimpse into my life right now, they'd probably see me building Lego castles with my two boys and or picking up Play-Doh clumps from the floor, so that the little one wouldn't eat it.
I
And
love it.
and then during nap time they'd see me putting up my fancy 3-panel room divider behind my desk chair, to hide my living room so I can go on video calls with aspiring children's book authors that I'm coaching, and I'm teaching them what I do myself at night when everyone else is sound asleep, my husband included, which is writing my own children's books, of which I've authored more than a dozen so far. And I've made it my mission to help uber-driven, aspiring children's book authors write, illustrate, publish, and market their own high-quality story that celebrates children's adorably unique traits and interests. And I do so with my best-selling book, How to Self-Publish a Children's Book,
Mm-hmm.
and my coaching programs I offer, and through my upcoming course in my Children's Book University that will take you on this story creation journey with step-by-step video instructions that will showcase how I'm creating an entire book. So the student will see each step with an actual example.
Oh,
And at the end,
wow.
yeah, at the end I will publish, that will also be published. And so they'll see the actual launching process as well. And so, I've helped aspiring authors from all walks of life on a one-on-one basis, from lawyers, neuroscientists, filmmakers, all the way to moms and dads and grandparents even, so, all stages of their writing careers. And so my upcoming course, my coaching, and my book, with those mediums, I'm now able to help even more achieve their dream of becoming a children's book author.
That is amazing, honestly. And how did you kind of end up, I don't know, going down that path? Did you always write books? How did you end up, I guess, writing and publishing your own, and then I guess moving on into coaching others to do the same?
Yeah, well, it was definitely a process. That's a great question. And so, when I was younger, I didn't really fit in, and so I grew up in former East Germany, which was a very homogenous society. And
Mm,
back then, we had Vietnamese guest workers come into our country, and it just so happened that my mom fell in love with one of them, and now contact between nationals and these guest workers was highly discouraged, and
wow.
so yeah, so their relationship and me as a result of it was something highly frowned upon and highly criticized. So being different and looking different, it was hard. So, I
Mm,
was the only non-white girl in my entire town and school. And, kids can be cruel at this age,
absolutely,
when,
yeah.
when someone, doesn't fit the norm. And so as a result,
Mhm.
I felt different, and alone at times. And so when you're this young, you don't understand how you're different. You only know or feel that you are. And so
Sure.
I didn't really know the difference between Asian and non-Asian, white and non-white, and I just saw others pointing, and I was left out of birthday parties because the parents of my friends didn't want me at their house, and they watched me with suspicion when I went into stores, just things like that. And so I felt lonely, and I didn't really have anyone to talk to about how I felt. And so I started reading. And
Mm,
so as a little girl, I created my own little world with books because I was able to identify with the characters, and I could imagine being with them and having fun, and so I felt safe. And in this make-believe world, I felt accepted and loved. And so I want all children to feel this way. So this is why I started writing, because I want to bring books to children that give them that same need fulfilled that I felt as a little girl, which
sure.
was to feel understood and accepted
Mm,
and loved. And none of our little ones should be ostracized, or alone. And so, but the reality is that we live in a world where we are constantly judging and scrutinizing and bullying. And I've come to understand that books are a way to bring some healing, to this world
mm,
that we live in. And so this is and how and why I became a children's book author. But I didn't want to stop there. I want to empower others to bring books to children that provide a world of acceptance and love. And so I'm on a mission to get as many people to bring a little world of safety and acceptance and love to children, by helping others to write their own stories. And so this is why I'm sharing my expertise with others, teaching them how to write and publish their own amazing children's books.
I
Yeah.
love that. And thank you also for sharing that as well, because obviously it's very deeply personal. And as you were speaking, actually, and kind of talking about that, because I've always been like an avid book reader myself, or like bookworm. And when I think about actually, well, why was that for you? Actually, reading for me was a very huge way of escape as well. Like my parents now, they're separated, but when I was younger, obviously when they were still married, it wasn't always good. Sometimes the tension and the atmosphere in the house wasn't great for me as a child. And so reading and writing later on, but reading especially kind of became my outlet. So I can really identify with what you're saying with that, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
Oh gosh. And so you've written your kind of children's books.
Hmm.
And I know, as you said, you've recently released your guide on like how to become like a self-published author
Right.
as well. Were they kind of I don't know, was the process any, I guess, different for you? Were they did they have their similarities, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, yeah. So the ultimate guide, well, it was quite different, and I've had actually lots and lots of help with this guide.
Mm,
But I joined Primoz Bozic's course, which is called the Ultimate Guide System, where
mhm,
he teaches you how to create such a guide through a guided, I think it's 3-month process.
oh,
And so, as an author, I obviously knew how to outline and write a regular book, but
mm,
an ultimate guide is quite different in the setup. I would say, for example, people are skimmers, so they like to skim and scroll, and so
mm,
I made sure to have short paragraphs broken up
mhm.
by images and lists.
Yeah.
And when the paragraph seemed too chunky, I tried to rewrite it in bullet point form.
Yeah.
And so, and with guides, you will want to make sure it draws the reader in from the get-go, because when people come to your site, they obviously have a problem, and they want to know
Mm,
if your guide can fix that problem right away. So the
mhm.
introduction of the guide has to let the reader know, yes, this is the article that will answer all my questions, and
Right.
you have to convince them quickly that this is what they need to read. You have to keep the reader's attention, because the guide is posted usually online, and so
Mhm.
clicking away to another site is easy to do, right? Which you want to prevent.
Sure.
And yes, you want them to stay on your site, and on a compared to a book, on the other hand, it's somewhat easier to keep the attention, because the reader already committed to you and your book by buying it, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And so the other feature I really liked about the guide setup is that it also mentions other people. It tries to weave in influencers, and mostly from a promotional point of view, meaning it's a technique that you can later use to promote your guide, because you can
Mm,
go to these people and say, hey, you're included in my guide. And then they
mhm.
usually help you promote it by sharing it
Right.
with the following. Yeah. And what I also found is it's very much like a fun monologue, where you're speaking to your audience, and almost like an article with lots and lots of detail. And so and these were just some of the things I saw whenever I read one of Primoz's guides,
Mm,
and I just loved them, the structure and the way they were written and the way they
yeah.
would flow,
Yeah.
also from one section to another, usually by ending with a question, which makes you want to continue reading. And so I
Mm,
wanted to create one just like that. And so with the book, you go out and you do the research, but it's mainly researching facts, at least for me. And
mhm.
so whereas with the guide, I found myself going out, interviewing people and creating surveys. And so for me, writing the guide was a lot more interactive with its
Yeah.
future
Mm.
audience, than it ever was with any of my previous books. So
Mm.
yeah, so I think that's how it was different for me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so, like, for someone who might be watching, for example, who might, because in my audience, we talk a lot about purpose, following your passions, those sorts of things. So, if there's a woman who might be watching right now who has a dream about writing and publishing a book, whether it's a children's book or otherwise, do you have any sort of advice, any tips for what she could do?
Yes, yeah, totally. So my number one advice would be um, not to go it alone. I spent so many months, if not years, trying to figure out all this on my own. And I could have
Right.
easily cut this time and stress in half, if not more, if I would
Mm.
have just sought out someone that had already done what I was trying to do. And so whether it's seeking out a community of fellow authors, like
Mm.
like Facebook groups, or an actual mentor, find someone that understands what you're going through and that can help you in getting wherever you want to go much faster, than you could ever do on your own.
Yeah.
So find a community, find support, and things will be so much easier, and quite frankly, so much more fun too. And so And so then secondly, I have to add another one because I think it's just so important. The second advice I have is, if you want to do something like writing a book, then don't wait for the right moment. Don't wait until, for example, your kids are older, or don't wait until your email list is bigger, or until your website is just right. Just believe in yourself and start now. And one of my favorite quotes is by Goethe, where he says, whatever you dream, you can do. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And it's so true. Yeah. And so just remember that the dream is half a prophecy. So now go and make it a reality.
Wow.
This is how I feel about that.
I love that. I have to repeat that. A dream is half a prophecy. So go and make that a reality. Yes. I need to get that and write that somewhere around my house. That has really just struck a chord. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, honestly.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
and then, so they've written this book, they've joined the Facebook groups and the author sites. They've maybe even gotten themselves a coach and that sort of stuff. How do they then kind of market this book? What are your sort of favorite marketing strategies?
Yes, I have two actually. One I learned from from publicity strategist Selena called Follow the Leader technique. I think it's brilliant. Learning from those that have talked the talk and walk the walk. So you basically ask yourself, what authors do you admire? Check and see what publications or podcasts they have been interviewed for, and then following and copying those you admire when it comes to marketing can help you tremendously, because they have already found the perfect medium and audience for you, and my second favorite marketing strategy is asking influencers for editorial reviews, which I do all the time for my books. So influencer marketing is a form of marketing in which your focus is placed on influential people that are able to reach thousands of consumers through their own social networks and blogs, for example. And so being associated with such influencers brings great value and can be an exceptional promotional strategy for your children's book, or for any book for that matter. So receiving an editorial review from an influencer can lend enormous credibility to you and your book. And if the influencer agrees to provide such a review, it's very likely that she'll also promote or mention your book to her own audience, a following that already has a certain level of trust in that influencer's opinion. So and if you want to use that strategy, make sure that your book's topic is relevant to each influencer you're approaching. Don't contact them purely out of your own sake, but rather try to bring actual value to the influencer's audiences as well. Ask yourself whether or not their audience would benefit from learning about your mission and your book, and only go forward if the answer is yes. And so the more your book's message actually aligns with the influencer, him or herself, and her audience, the more likely she'll agree to provide an editorial review, especially if it furthers her own personal and social growth. And so if what I think is so neat is, if you find an influencer whose audience truly aligns with your book's message, receiving an editorial review or forward will incur a small cost, really, in relation to the possible benefits it can bring, right? For example, if an influencer has, let's say, 50,000 blog subscribers, you as an author provide her with a book, and then you essentially are making an investment of the cost of your book in exchange for reaching, a large number, if not most of her followers, all of her followers. And if chosen correctly, then the majority of the influencer's followers will represent your own book's target audience. So getting these reviews may take some time, so be sure to plan ahead. And then it's best to have followed that influencer for at least a little while on social media to make sure that you're a great fit with each other, for each other. So these are my favorite marketing strategies, and they really work. They really do.
So smart. There's as you were talking, actually, I just had another quick question just pop into my head, if you don't quickly mind me asking, just about so the marketing and all of that. But how also can you make sure, I guess, that you don't launch to crickets? You know, like if you're someone who's maybe new to book writing and you know, maybe has an audience but not a huge one, especially going down the self-publishing route where you're going to be doing a lot of the PR work to find these influencers and all of that sort of stuff. You know, how can you kind of go about that?
Yeah, I would definitely go out and do some market research before you start writing, because you don't, yeah, exactly. You don't want to launch, you don't want to write this book and put all this work into it and then launch and just to find out that nobody is interested in this topic. And so
Yeah.
what I usually do is I go to Amazon
Mm,
and see if there are already books out there
mm,
that address that topic that I want to address. And so uh, because most people say, oh my goodness, there is already a book out there on this topic, I can't possibly write another book on this, but that's actually the wrong kind of train of thought,
yeah.
because you want a book out there on that topic already, because you want a popular one because then that it's needed, that there will be a market for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely do your market research beforehand. It also depends on what your ultimate goal is, right? Um, a lot of my clients, their books are passion projects, so they
Mm,
don't they're not interested in making money with it. They are more interested in creating a book for a topic that isn't really out there,
right.
because they want to help other kids that love that specific topic. But if
Mm-hmm,
you're out there to create a book for the masses,
mm-hmm.
or to reach as many people as possible, then yes, definitely do your market research beforehand.
That makes so much sense. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're
And
totally welcome.
And then, so just to end, you know, as you know, I tend to kind of ask, you know, quick fire questions and, you know, that sort of thing. So, as you know, I talk a lot about, you know, like the women of the Bible, raising their profile. And I just wanted to know whether or not you had a favorite woman of the Bible, and if so, who and why?
Yes, yeah, I do actually, and that would be Deborah, the female warrior
I
and
love it.
writer. And yeah,
Yes.
to me, she was a strong-minded and unique woman, that left an impact on by being fearless. When it came to emancipating God's people and awakening a determination on them to free themselves. So yeah,
Mm.
her.
Definitely fierce. Yes, I was thinking fierce, but also like so bold when you think about the fact that, especially around those time, like what women were going to war and leading men and that sort of stuff. So
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
such an amazing choice. And if you had to kind of finish the sentence, so I am a Christian woman who is, what would you
Yes.
say?
Yes, who is striving to becoming a better person every single day.
Yeah.
I did so before, but now even more so with my two boys. It's so
Mm.
important to model right behavior and
Yeah.
interaction with other people. And our littles they are constantly watching us. So I try to act accordingly and just be mindful how I interact with others and how I treat others.
Yes, it's so true. And they're watching us even when we're not aware. It's amazing what they pick up.
Yes.
And if you had to kind of turn it around, so I am a Christian woman who is not, what would you say?
Yes, who is not afraid to fight and speak out for what I believe in. Especially when it comes to oppression of the weak, I've always felt the sense of wanting to protect those that I felt needed protection.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also especially important in this day and age with the
Yes.
movements that are happening as well, with, you know, I guess even like Black Lives Matter, but the Me Too movement, like there's just so much where I guess those who have been oppressed, as you're saying, are beginning to rise, and it's just so great to watch. So I think you're very in tune with the spirit of things, of what, you know, what's happening, you know.
Right.
And do you have kind of any, I guess, any other words of encouragement? And also, please feel free to let people know where they can find you and that sort of stuff as well.
Okay, yes, I do. So if if you feel you have a book in you, then don't wait. You know, there will never be the perfect moment to begin writing. And if there is, then it's now. You know, if as they say, it's on your bucket list, and I've heard so many people say this, you know, that then just start. And I promise you, starting is the hardest part of the entire journey. And once you start, things, they just get so much easier. And you know, don't question yourself whether you're the right person to write this, or whether you are good enough to write whatever you want to write, because you are, you know, you are the right person, and you are good enough. Better yet, you're the perfect person to write your book, right? So yes, just start. If you have this feeling inside of you, just start. And yeah, and if you can learn more about my programs, and you know, don't download my ultimate free guide to writing your own children's book at eevijones.com. That's eevijones.com.
Brilliant. And what I'll do is all of the resources, your website, everything that you've mentioned, I'll kind of put in the show notes as well, so
Okay.
that people, yeah, they can just access them and it's just very direct and tidy, basically.
Okay, perfect, sounds perfect.
Oh, but Eevi, it's been amazing. Just, well, first of all, after all this interaction online and everything like that, to actually be able to just speak to each other and have this chat. And there were just some really, really amazing nuggets that you just shared. So thank you so, so much,
Oh,
honestly.
you're so welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day as well. Okay?
Okay, I will. Bye.
Bye. How amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away as I was by all of Evie's kind of pearls of wisdom and all the nuggets that she shared, then definitely, definitely feel free to like and share. As I always say, sharing is caring. So if you can kind of think of anyone else who would benefit from the information that was shared by Evie, then let them know. And also, you know, I would love to hear what your kind of biggest takeaways were, your biggest aha moments. So also feel free to put those in the comments. And as I always say as well, I'm extremely interactive. And so let's kind of keep this discourse and everything going. And also, if you would like to see more of these types of interviews, more things that will kind of help you to grow, live out your dreams, your purpose as a woman of God, then also definitely consider subscribing. And don't just subscribe, hit the bell as well, so that you will also be notified, you know, basically every time that I upload a new video, which is at least once a week, but mostly twice, okay? So until next time, my love, you take care and we will talk again soon. Bye.